Good morning. Today we're learning Bobekama Daf Nun Tes. We're going to start where we got to yesterday, about 10 lines down. Omar Abaye. Said Abaye, Rabbi Yosef Glili, Rabbi Shmuel Omer Dover Echad. They both hold the same thing. So Rabbi Yosef Glili Hodamar. Rabbi Yosef Glili is what we said before on Daf Nun Ches on base. He says Rabbi Yosef. He says if he cut if an animal ate wheat or something that hadn't fully grown yet, that you pay, you look at the value as if how much it's going to be worth in the future when it's fully grown. Rabbi Shmuel says the same. The Tanya, Meitav Sodeu Meitav Karma Yishalem. It says that you should pay from if someone kivar that someone does shen v'regel, so he pays meitav sodeu meitav karma yishalem, the best of his field and the best of karmois. It doesn't say meitav of who, of the mazik, of the nizak. So meitav sodeu shel nizak, meitav karma shel nizak. Rabbi Shmuel says that you go after the nizaks, the best of his field. Rabbi Akiva, we're going to see in a second what that means. Rabbi Akiva, we had this more before, and it means Rabbi Akiva says no, it's going on the mazik there. If the mazik wants to pay with a field, he has to give the best field he has, and if you're mazik hegdish, you also have to give your best. But we're not talking about bichlal the nizak's meitav's best. Man, don't tell me pshat in Rabbi Shmuel's Rabbi Idi Bar Ovin. The Omar Rabbi Idi Bar Ovin, he explained in Rabbi Shmuel, he ate a patch of vegetables between other vegetables, that we don't know if it was fat tomatoes or very weak tomatoes. The Omar that Rabbi Shmuel says a chiddush, kum sholim shmeina, go pay like a fat, like good tomatoes, b'meitav the ika ashta, from the best that we find that still exists. This is not true. Why not? My time. You need to bring a raya. What type of vegetables they ate? Maybe 8 weak ones. Elo b'meitav de lekamei. It means a meitav of the future. Mind you, why is that? The solik, it's gonna grow. If you ate something that's not fully ready, we estimate it as if it's fully ready, and therefore Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Yosef Glili say the same thing, that we don't look at the vegetables the way they are now, we look at them as if they were fully grown. Omar, we learned Reb Shimon Yehuda Oima, Mishum Reb Shimon ben Yehuda Oima, name of Reb Shimon Medvar Mamorim. When do we look? When do you pay the value of now? She'ochlo lovik fonim, the 8 beginnings of grapes, vichura and tainim, and beginnings of figs. Mashma, the chur from Reb Shimon, hosmado, if it was already fruit over there, just not ripe, so you'd estimate it as if it's fully ready and ready to cut, much more valuable. Let's look at the Sefer of Shimon. Ochlo pagim uboisa, 8 pagim uboisa, and that's a stage in the fruit that's more ripe than smado. So you have 3 stages. Lulove, kfonim, v'chorotein, that's really at the beginning. Pagim uboisa is towards the end, and smado is in the middle. So we say, then you look at it as if it's ready fruit, and you estimate it as value of ready fruit that are going to be cut. Hosmado, if it was in the middle stage. You don't look at the future. So it's a stira. Put it together like koirech and learn it. When are we saying that you pay as if it is now, now we add in smado together with pagan uboisa, then so from smado onwards, then we look at it for the future. We say, how much was this worth if it would be ready, ripe fruit? If so, there's no machlokes, because if we look at the top of the page, it says, And then Rab Shimon at the end is choilek. So if you what you're saying now that Rab Shimon agrees that smado roi moisekilim anovi moidusli botza, it's the same shit. What's the machlokes between them? So the Gemara ike benayu chash gufna veloi misayim. Meaning, do you estimate if this fruit would go all the way until you'd cut it off and it'd be totally ripe, so the grape would lose from its power, it'd become weaker because the fruit grew and becomes weak. So do you estimate that calculation and you take it off from he gained because his vine didn't have to work hard to take out fruit, he cut it off before. So that gain, do you calculate it and you take it off from the total price at the end or not? Veloi Mesaimi means then we don't know which one who said, which one did Rabbi Yeshua say and which one did Rabbi Shimon say, which one calculates this extra figure on which one doesn't. Abaye Omar Mesaimi, yes, we do know who holds what. Man Tana Dechaish Lekachash Gufno, who is the Tana who holds that you choishish for the weakness of the body? Rab Shimon ben Yehudi, it's Rab Shimon ben Yehuda, the Tanya that we learned in the Braysh, Rab Shimon Yehuda Oima Mishum Rab Shimon ben Nasir. Oines, a man who's manas a woman, Eina Mishalem Misatzar, doesn't have to pay for the pain that he caused the woman by being ma'anasa. Anyway, one day she's going to have relationships with her husband and she'll have tsar. They told him, no, it's not true. You can't compare a woman who has a relationship with concern, with content, or the word is with rotzen, and a woman who is done by force. Obviously, the woman who is by force, it's much more painful and there's much more tsar. But we could see that Rab Shimon holds that you do calculate the future. So also here, Rab Shimon is the one who says, even though that we calculate and we say that we don't pay like smado now, you pay like it's ready, ripe Paris, but you do calculate the gain that the vine didn't get weakened. Omar Abaye says Abaye Ana Tanoi Rab Shimon ben Yehuda Omar Deva Echad. These Tanoim and Rab Shimon ben Yehuda hold the same thing, that we look at the future and say what's going to happen and we calculate it that into the nezek. Rab Shimon ben Yehuda Hoda Amron, what we just said about oines. Hani Tanoi Mahi. Why is this Tanoi? The Tanya. Rabbi Yosi Oima Nechi Chaya. When a person pays a person who bashed a woman and he killed her unborn babies, so you say you have to pay for the unborn babies. So he says when you pay that nechichaya, we calculate 1 second, you'd have to pay for a midwife £1,000, and now that these babies would died from this punch, you don't have to pay this midwife. So yes, you have to pay the value of the babies, but you minus the midwife costs. So we could see the Rabbi holds that you look at the future, how much you would have to pay, and you calculate that. You also, a woman who's pregnant, she wants ice cream all the way from I don't know where, and all different types of expensive foods that she wants because the baby's hungry and the baby has ritzonis that causes the mother to want to eat food. So by this unborn baby being killed earlier before the birth, he saved expensive food for his wife. So he's another shitter who holds the saying that we look at the future and we calculate that in. Mando Maneki Chai, another Gemara says the one who holds that you calculate the midwife. Kol sheken you'll also calculate the expensive food she'd need to eat. Mando Maneki Mezonis, the one who says you calculate the food she would eat. Aval Chaya. But you don't calculate the midwife. Why? My wife, she's clever. She knows how to have a baby by herself. I wouldn't take a midwife. But food, each woman who's pregnant has to have special food. Rav Papa, Rav Huna Breder, Rav Yeshua, Avud Uvda, Kavaseder of Nachman. So Nun Chesavon base, we learned that there was a story that someone cut off someone's palm tree. There were 3 palm trees and he cut one of them off. He went to Rish Galusa. Rish Galusa tried forcing him to pay. He said you have to pay the whole 3 palm trees are worth 100, so you have to pay 33.3. Then he went to Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman said no, you calculate it in 60 palm trees. So the Gemara says our Papa, Rav Huna Breder, Rav Shua, they did like Rav Nachman, B'Shishin. and they calculated it in 60. Lishna Achrina, another Lishna, Rav Papa, Rav Huna Bredi Rav Shua, Shamu Dikla Av Ktina Dara. Someone damaged a palm tree, and they estimated the value together with the land, how much the land is worth with the palm tree and how much it's worth without the palm tree. Similar idea that you don't calculate it by itself, you calculate it agav something else. V'ilchasa, and the halacha is, Kavaseder, Papa Rav Huna Bredi Rav Shua, Bedikla Darama. In a normal palm tree, or a make from Bovel type of palm tree, you estimate it agav karka or b'shishim. V'ilchasa, Kavaseder Rish Galusa, but the halacha is like the Rish Galusa that you calculate it by itself, but Dikla Parasah in a Persian palm tree that's very expensive and unique, so then it has its value by itself and you don't calculate it connected anything else. Eliezer Zeira, Ave Sai Masani Uchmi, he was wearing black shoes, V'koi Beshuka de Nardo, and he was walking in the shuk, in the market of Nardo, it's a place in Bovel, Ashkechu de Berish Galusa, and they found the people of the Reish Galusa saw him. Why are you wearing these black shoes of the Avelim wear? I'm sad about Yerushalayim that's in its churban. You are so choshev that you need to be so special to wear special shoes of Avelos to be in Yerushalayim. So they thought it's gaivadik. Asio, they took him v'chavshu and they put him in jail. Amalu, he told them, the Ira told the people of Reish Galusa, Gavarabano, I'm a great person, I'm a choshev person, and I'm not stam bal gaiva, and I'm really caring about Yerushalayim. Amurlei minoyadinhan, how do we know? Do you have askomes? Well, how do we know that you're such a great person? Amalu, he told them, Atun boy minay milsa, or you ask me something, or Ana boy minay milsa, or you ask me something and I'll tell you pshat, or I'll ask you a question that you won't have an answer for. Amrulei boy at, you ask us a shaila. Amalu, ayman de kotz kufra, someone who cut down dates that are like boisa by a novim. My mishalim, what does he pay? Amrulei mishalim me kufra, he pays how much this it's worth now. Amalu have a tamri, but they're going to be soon good ready dates and they're worth much more. Amulei, okay, mishalim me tamri, so you pay date tamri. That how they worth later. Amalu will have tamri shokal mine, but he didn't take ripe dates. He took unripe dates. Amulohei emolonat. Okay, they realize they're dealing with a tough cookie who they can't answer him. You tell us. Amalu b'shishim. He said, no, you measure it, keneged shishim. Says Rashi, ima karka da kol bichlal shakoine karka b'oser nesav einav tzat b'shvach shelach hazman. So he does look at the future, how much these unready dates are worth, but he doesn't give it too much of a value because he's buying a whole piece of land. That's not the main thing, what the dates on the tree now. Omrlei man omar kavasei. Who says like you? Okay, maybe you say this, but maybe it's not even true. Omar lo Shmuel chai. Shmuel Zalai, who Beis Dinei Kayam and his Beis Din has opening hours. So this Shodru Kamei de Shmuel, the friend sends the Shaila to Shmuel. Omalu Shapika Omalechu B'Shishim B'Shavkur. So he said, Shmuel said, yeah, he said the right halacha. That is the halacha. They measured B'Shishim B'Shavkur, and they left him alone because they realized he's a Talmid Chacham, and it makes sense that he should be misavel, and it's not stam gaiva. Rab Shimon Omar Ochla Peres Gmurim. So we learned in the Mishnah that the way you measure the peres, you don't measure them by themselves, you measure them b'shishim, and you measure it that way. Rab Shimon's choilek, and it says if you ate fully ripe peres, ready peres, no, you measure them by themselves. Said the Gemara, my timer, ho do Omar Kro Rachmano Bir B'Steache Melamed Jesomar Gabes Steache. What's pshat in Rab Shimon? He says that the Torah says to teach you that you estimate it not by itself, you estimate it with the whole field. Hanimili, that's talking about something that still needs a field that's not fully ripe. Ani, these ones, since they're ready to be cut off the field and ready to be eaten and sold, you pay them by themselves, like a cow ate ready produce that's cut and already boxed. So for sure you don't say Agav Soda. This whole Chiddush of Agav Soda is when it's still connected. So Rav Shimon says, even if it's connected, if it's fully ripe, you don't do that. When the Chiddush of the Torah is only when the fruit is not ready yet. Omar Rav Huna bar Chia, Omar Rav Irmia bar Avin. Says Rav Huna, the son of Chia, in the name of Irmia bar Avin, Don Rav paskend halacha, meaning he did in Lemaisa Kermea, like we're going to see what Rameya says soon. Pasak Ilchas Kerb Shimon, but in the halachas he wrote about something else, he paskin like Kerb Shimon, like in our Mishnah. Don Rav Kermea, what did he do in halacha like Rameya the Tanya? Kosav Rishon, someone, a husband has a field that's miyuchad, that's special for the ksuva of his wife, that she could be goyve for it, and now he sold it to someone else, to Ruvain, and she didn't sign on it because she needs to sign on it because it's Meshur B'tah Lasheni, and then he went to Sheni and he sold it to him, and to Shimon, she did sign it. Of the ksuva, so she lost the field. And you don't say that she was just forced to do it because she didn't do it. Because if she was forced to do it already for Reuven, she would sign. So we could see she had the strength to say no. So when Shimon, it means she really agreed to it. That's Shittas Rameh, and that's what Rav passed in like Lemaisa in Besdin. Rabbi Yehuda argues, you could say Nachas Rochos Isil Baili. I did it, I only signed to Shimon to make him happy. Atem Malochem Olai, leave me alone. Pasak Ilchas Rab Shimon, and in his halacha and his Shulchan Aruch of Rav L'Doros, he wrote like Rab Shimon Kadet Nan, like what we learned in the Mishnah. Rab Shimon Oimer Ochla Peres Gemurim. If she ate, the animal ate fully ripe pears, Yishalem as Peres Gemurim. You pay the full amount of ripe pears, and you don't calculate it in a bigger amount. Im saw, if she ate a saw. Im saw, if she ate two saw, and you don't calculate it b'shishim or anything like that. Says the Mishnah, Magdish b'toich solech haveri. Someone who piles a haystack in his friend's field, shaloi b'rishus without his friend permission, v'achloson be'imto sheba'al hasodeh, and the behema of the Baal HaSodeh ate it. Potter, the Baal HaSodeh is potter because you put it in without permission. If the animal got damaged from this pile of haystack, Baal HaGodish chayev, the owner of the Godish who put it over there is chayev because he did it without rishus. If he did it with permission, Baal HaSodeh chayev. If he did it with permission, so Baal HaSodeh is mikabel shmira and he's chayev for the hezek of the behema. Or he's chayev for if the behema ate this pile of hay. Let's say our Mishnah is not like Rebbe, because if you remember, we learned in last parak a whole bunch of Mishnayos about this din, a whole bunch of cases. The Rebbe holds that when I give permission to someone to put something in my garden, in my field, it doesn't mean I'm in Kabel Shmira. That you put it into my field doesn't give you permission. Doesn't mean I'm going to guard it. It just means you could put it there, but you need to guard it. So in our Mishnah it says that if they put it in with permission, the Baal HaSodeh is mechuyev b'shmira. So it's not like Rebbe, it's like Chachamim who say by giving permission to put it in, that's already permission. It means I'm a kabel shmira. Omar Papa Ocha benota beidori askina, and it's talking about where there is, says Rashi, let's see it inside, Shomer Agronois, someone who guards the piles. Sheminogam oyolaso is called neabika. The minig was that all the valley would do begorin echod in one pile on one area. Zegadisha, each one his pile. Mimanim shomer, and they put a shomer over there. Over here, afilu Rebbe moide. In that case, Rebbe is also moide that if he says you could put it in over here, it means I'm going to guard it. Benota, someone who guards beidori, the piles of wheat, askin, and the cave and the omale ayel v'gdoish. Since he says come in and put in your pile, ayel v'intalochu. It means put in and I'm going to guard it for you. So Tosis asks over here, why do we say this whole Mishnah again? We had this Mishnah, what's the Chiddush? Tosis says a teretz that's all coming to tell you that paskening not like Rebbe, or it's coming to tell you that even Rebbe's moida, that in such a case with the guard of the bika, of the valley, Rebbe's moida, that just letting permission is like saying I'm going to guard it. But it's a bit shver why this Mishnah comes in over here. This Mishnah should be mentioned last parak with the other Mishnahs that talk about this, and I don't know a teretz for that. So the next Mishnah. Asholeach es habe'era, someone who sent the fire, biad cher shoita v'kotten, in the hands of a deaf or shoita on a fool, v'kotten, or someone who's underneath bar mitzvah, potter b'dinei odom, and he calls the fire, you don't have to pay in bezdin, b'chai b'dinei shemayim, but for shemayim they'll be mechayiv you. Sholach biad pikeach, if you gave a pikeach and sent the fire, pikeach chayiv, because Divrei Rav, Divrei Talmud, Divrei Mishoimim, you're not allowed to make a fire, you should listen to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you shouldn't listen to your shliach, so therefore the shlichus is no chal. Echod Evi Sa'or, one person put a fire, he brought, let's say, a candle or a match or something, Echod Evi Sa'etim, and then the second person comes and puts the wood over there and he causes a fire and he causes damage. And maybe it's 18, he came second. Chayev, he has to pay for the damage. Echad Evi 18, one person put a pile of wood. Echad Evi or, and the second one brought a match. And maybe it's since he brought the fire after the wood exists, he's the second one, he caused the damage over here. He is Chayev. What happened if they had a fire and someone came and made, in Hebrew you say nafnaf, he did with his, to make air, that to make the fire bigger. And Melaba, the one who made the fire bigger, Chayev. If the wind did it, kulam pturim, they all potter because it's the wind did it. Said the Gemara, Omar Rish Lakish Mishmei Dechizkiah, says Rish Lakish Mishmei Dechizkiah, and we learned this early on already a few times. Lo Yishanu, when did we say that you potter? When you gave it to Chershoit of a cotton, Medinei Odom, Elo Shemosa Lo Gacheles Velibo, he gave this kid a coal, and the kid made it into a big fire and he caused damage. Aval Mosale Shaleves, he gave him a ready burning fire. Chayev, the person who sent it, Chayev, my time and myself Gormuloi, when you give a kid a fire, you're going to cause damage. So it's like you caused the damage. Rabbi Yochanan argues, he says, Afilu Mosale Shaleves potter, even if he gave him a full ready blown fire, he's Chayev. My time at Tzavta the Cheresh Gormuloi, the holding Tzavta is like it's like a tool, I don't know how you say in English, but a tzvat that holds something. It's like two things and you hold something together. So it's a holding of the cherish that causes fire. It's not it's a cherish, you move it from place to place, and that's why B'dinei Odom I'm not chayev. V'loi mechayev, you only chayev at she'im seloi gavzo, only if he gives him thorns, silsa, small wood that's easy to burn, shraga and a candle. Dahu, in that case where it's literally a big fire, they've given him everything in his hands. Vadai ma'aseh didei gormu. His ma'asim caused it, and therefore he'll be chayev. But if he only gave a fire, it's the cheresh moved it from place to place, and you'll be potter. This week's parsha is Parsha Vaychi. It says in the parsha that Yosef, Yaakov told Yosef, I'm going to give you a extra part in Eretz Yisrael. I'm going to give you Shechem, and Asher lokachti miyada Amori, that I took it from the nation called the Amori Becharbi, with my sword and with my kashti and my bow and arrow. So Pashtos means that Yaakov says, I took this piece of land by force with a bow and arrow and a sword, and that I'm giving you this extra piece of land. The Targum Unkulu says, he's in the Targum, what does Becharbi mean? And Bekashti, he says, Saloisi or Bebausi, my davening and my bakosha, my private bakosha. The difference is, davening is like a fixed davening, like Shmona Esrei or like Tehillim, or Bebakoshi, Bebausi means a private tefillah, like a person says, Hashem, please help me that I should have a good day or I should find a parking spot. It's not tefillah that's mitukin anyway. A personal dibble that a person has with Hashem. The question is, where does Unculus get this? Unculus is a translation. Unculus should explain Becharbe Bekashti. He should say a sword in Aramaic and Bekashti a bow and arrow in Aramaic. Why does he say here a whole type of Hasidic Shavrot? No, it doesn't mean really a Charav Keshet. It means davening and bakosha. So we say, Pshat is, the Beis Halevi explains that, I heard this from my father, that Pshat is the following. When you go to war, what do you use first? You bow and arrow or you sword? So l'chara, you first hide in a good location. You look from the small window and you try fighting with your bow and arrow. You don't want to get close to your enemy. And if you miss all the bow and arrows and the enemy got into the room, then you take out your sword and you go to a very bad fight. But first use your far away bow and arrow, and then use your sword. But here in the pasuk it says becharbi, first the sword, and then bekashti, and then the bow and arrow. That doesn't make sense. In physical war, that's not the way it works. That's why I explained it must mean that it's a metaphor. It means something else. It means davening and bakosha. Fixed davening and private bakosha. So now what's the difference between a sword and a bow and arrow? A sword is something that is dangerous. If you have a sword around the house and you have kids, it's very dangerous. The kids should get harmed. You don't need to know to have lots of talent to cause damage with a sword. You could, there's a saying that falling on your sword, the person fell on his sword, it's dangerous, it's scary, it has its power, you could get cut very easily. But bow and arrow, it's not really such a dangerous. The bow is for sure not very dangerous. And the arrow has one little pointy, dangerous part, but it's not very dangerous as a sword. You can have it hang around the house and very unlikely someone should get damaged for it. The only way it becomes a very dangerous thing, if you have training and you know how to use it, you know how to use your posture, how to stand, and you know how to aim, and you know how to breathe, when to let it go. It's a whole mahalach. It depends where the wind's coming from, etc. So it's a whole way that you need training and you need practice to know how to use it. So we're saying charbi is a sword, and we connect that, we say that means tefillah, like Shmona Esrei or Tehillim. And kashti, the bow and arrow, is ba'usi, is a personal, private tefillah of a person. So we say, similar to what we said before, the same by the nimshal of the davening and the private bakosha. Davening is fixed from the other Sakdoshim. They fixed it, and then Anshe Knesset Sakdoila organized how exactly we should say Shmona Esrei or Tehillim. David HaMelech wrote. It has in it actual power of our ancestors who are great, great individuals. So it's like a cherev. It's dangerous in itself. And if a person says Shmona Esrei and he has kavanah only in the first brachas, he's yoytze, even if he didn't have no kavanah whatsoever in any in the middle brachas, Refreinu, Baruch Aleinu, etc. Because it has a power in itself, the davening itself of Anshe Knesset Sakdoila and the other Sakdoshim, that you don't need much kavanah and knowing how to use it. You just say it and it works. It's just press a button. That's why it's like a cherev. Masha'inki, in a private bakosha, if I say to Hashem, oh, help me, help me, help me, and I'm thinking about my ice cream, it doesn't work anything, nothing helps, didn't do anything, because you are now mechadesh this type of tefillah, and you have to know how to use it, you have to have proper kavanah, and you have to know how to use it, like Rav Nachman goes in extent and explains how a person should do his boididus, where he should go. He should first start saying thank you, and then he should ask what he wants, how he should ask, and then afterwards he should finish off with thank you again to Hashem. So you need technique. It's like a bow and arrow. That's why a private tefillah is doime to a bow and arrow. I hope everyone will be zoicha to have also his sword ready in this world, and also his bow and arrow to use his private tefillahs all the time. Everyone should have a very, very good Shabbos.